You guys ready to talk about feelings?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Feelings. I'm so grateful to see you all today. Thank you for coming on a Friday morning. This is a presentation called Your Feelings Are the Secret. It's based off of a book called Feelings Are the Secret by Neville Goddard. I read that book. It's a very short book, about 42 pages, and it is extremely powerful. And because I'm doing these presentations at the library, I wanted to have a tie-in to literature so that people could come see a presentation, but also say, you know what, I might want to try that book, or check that out, or check out that style of literature. Before we begin today, I just wanted to talk about your mental health mattering so much. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. This is one perspective. This isn't the be-all and end-all of how you should see life and how you should feel, and etc. This is just an idea that's thrown out there, and you can make of it what you will. If you find things that you enjoy, you can apply it to your life. Also, the diversity of our experiences and our perceptions, how we see things. Feelings are contextual. To understand that everyone's life is a universe. Everyone's life is an island. And so one person might experience something this way and another might experience something that way. Or there are a lot of factors that came into play of why something happened the way it was. So as I'm talking today, I want you to understand that I'm talking in a sense specifically and generally. Generally from the standpoint of I'm speaking to a group, but specifically as it relates to how I see it. And not how you should see it. I want you to take that and apply it the way you see problems. A little about me and why I'm here. My name is Dédalo Purificação, but feel free to call me D. My background's in social services. I used to teach relationship education throughout Kings County. I've done a lot of work throughout the state of California, consulting, working domestic violence, things of that nature. So anywho, I just wanted to say that during the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions. I love having interaction. I love hearing your opinions and your thoughts. And afterwards, if you have time and you feel like sticking around, please feel free to stick around. We can have a discussion. I'd love to hear your perspectives on some of the things that we discussed today. The presentation is based off of the book, Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. Again, I highly recommend this book. It has a spiritual leaning to believing in a higher power. However, even if a person doesn't see life that way, there is a lot of wisdom in there that can be gleaned. It's a very, very good book in my opinion. So we know that humans experience a wide range of emotions. Emotions like happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, disgust, and much more. What's important to understand is how we feel has an impact on us. Have you guys ever had a feeling and then had butterflies in your stomach or pain or something like that? And then have you guys ever had a feeling, felt extra energy? You could, you're at, Six Flags Magic Mountain, you want to get on all the rides. Or you're eating some really good food and you're like, man, this is a great time. Or you're at the beach, all of a sudden you feel so relaxed. Let me ask you guys another question. Have you guys ever been around other people that based off their behavior make you have a negative impact on you? Have you been around people that when you're around them, your spirits lift, your stresses go away, and you feel better? A lot of these things are attached to our experiences and how we feel about them. And what I wanted to talk about in this moment is the impact of negative feelings on our physical and emotional health. They literally can increase our risk of chronic diseases, increased inflammation. Has anyone ever been so stressed out that their stomach started swelling up or seen that in another? Cardiovascular problems and much more. Social isolation and loneliness, decreased self-esteem and confidence, difficulty managing emotions, and much more. This is very natural because our feelings are connected to our primal. Has anyone ever heard of the term fight or flight? So we have we're mammals, we have these primal things that when we feel, there's a somatic response. For example, in the way, way olden days, if they heard a certain growl or a certain type of thing rustling about, the adrenaline starts shooting in their bodies so they can be able to run and try to survive. Nowadays, we don't have too much that problem. However, we still have the same somatic responses. And those responses can be something as simple as watching the news, something as simple about being around someone that might harm us the way they behave, or our feelings about ourselves, the way that we've kind of created a habitual pattern of our feelings. So this was something that was placed in us to help us survive, but in reality in the modern world, because there's so much stress in some people over and over and over again, that we're seeing that it leads to chronic illness. But let's look at the positive end. What is the impact of positive feelings on physical and emotional health? Well, you have a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. You generally maintain a healthier weight. Naturally, you notice like when people they feel better, their inflammation starts to go away. They actually start to lose weight. Their body is actually much more receptive to nutrition and to exercise because their stress levels are reduced. Increased longevity. How many of us know or have seen like videos of people that are like smoking cigars and they're 105? Or I'm from Portugal, from the Azores, so you hear sort of they're drinking wine and beer, but they're just happy as a clam. They made it to 95 or 100. There's a huge impact of positive and happy lifestyle and thinking on your health. You also have increased resilience. If you look at the things that happen to you in a positive way, you're building resilience. You're building the ability to say, I've dealt with the challenge, but you know what, things are going to be okay. And you grow in that regard. Whereas if you think negatively, we see in that people have less resilience. They have less follow through. They have less ability to get back on their feet or to accomplish whatever goals they have. There's improved mental well-being and better social relationships. Now, I don't want to just jump over that. We all want to feel connected to one another, to our families, to our friends. And I think this is a really important piece that I'm going to touch on today, is our social relationships as well. Most feelings are inevitable, and they serve a purpose. I don't want you to leave here today thinking, well, gosh, I have to feel great about everything. Someone tells me the worst thing ever, and I'm like, oh, this is great, because Dee told me in a presentation that, negative thinking is going to give me cardiovascular disease. It's not that. I want you to really understand that your feelings are inevitable, and they serve a purpose. What we really need to understand is, what are the feelings that we embrace? What are the feelings that we take and we hold and we create our reality with? Because it's okay to think someone's annoying, or it's okay to think this food doesn't taste good, or it's okay to not like this political situation. It's okay to not be angry at the guy that cut you off when you're driving on the highway. But if we embrace those feelings and hold on to them over time, they shape our reality. Our feelings are inevitable, they serve a purpose. The feelings we embrace shape our reality. So what should we consider? And this is some great advice that you see in the book, is entertaining feelings that contribute to your happiness. Every day when we wake up, what do we want out of our day? What do we want out of the now? Often when we wake up, we think of what we have to do today. What are our responsibilities? What are the potential risks that could come throughout the day? Oh, if this doesn't work out, this is going to happen. If this doesn't work out, that's going to happen. Some of us are naturally wired to have like these threat assessments and make sure everything's okay. Understandably so, right? Those thoughts are inevitable. But what I would say is every morning, take a minute to entertain feelings that contribute to your happiness, that actually make you happy. Think of things that make you happy. Can anyone give me an example of like thoughts that would make you happy?
Getting time to read for yourself instead of all the chores you have to do.
Yeah. A person might say to themselves in the morning, I'm so grateful for the type of person I am. I'm responsible and I like to get things done that need to be done. And then I have my fun. But the way we talk to ourselves, we spend 24 hours a day with ourselves. Nobody is on that level with us. People get married, they have their soulmate, they have their children, they have their parents and grandparents who they adore and admire. But the person you spend the most time with your life is yourself. And so the way we entertain, the feelings that we entertain, the way we talk to ourselves is paramount. Not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. With that said, not embracing undesirable feelings. Notice I use the word embracing. I'm not saying you can't think it. I'm not saying it's not going to come up, because it will. Every day we wake up and it's like, ugh, I don't feel that. I look in the mirror, it's like, ugh, I got to make this work somehow. And then you start getting, because everyone has that moment, right? But do you embrace it? It's one thing to think it, but do you embrace it? Does it become your mantra? Does it become part of your narrative of your life? And these are things we have to be careful for, as we alluded to earlier about the positive and negative feelings affecting our health. Not dwelling on the imperfections of yourself and others. Remember, we talked about social relationships. Everyone we know is imperfect. Everybody. Everyone has, especially if you live with them, you're going to find out all the imperfections of everyone, right? But do we want to dwell on that? There are lots of different ways that we can handle our own imperfections and the imperfections of others. Let's say your imperfection is you're waking up late. So you want to wake up at 8 o'clock, but you're waking up at 9:30. How would someone in here what adjustments would you make to wake up at 8 o'clock instead of 9:30 if you were in that situation?
Go to sleep earlier. Set a second alarm.
Set a second alarm, that's a great idea. You're taking action towards addressing imperfections as opposed to dwelling on them. These are the small differences in the healthy things that can help. Now, how can we help the imperfections of others? Do we do it by telling them they're imperfect? Negative feelings, negative thinking? Or do you think it's better to help someone with their imperfections by encouraging them? Right.
Or ask, how can I help you, whatever it is.
Perfect, right? These are great things. We create this energy around us. Like we said earlier, we all agreed earlier, there are people that walk in the room and we're like, oh, you know, like that energy, I don't want no part of that. And there are people that walk in the room and we're like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And it's just the best day ever. And so how we feel about ourselves, how we handle ourselves, has a great effect on the world around us too. The dwelling is important. So not entertaining feelings of regret, failure, frustration, or detachment. I think this is really important. Because remember, it's about entertaining, it's not about thinking. This is going to happen. You're going to say, man, I regret not doing that. I wish I had done that. That would have been great. Or, man, I feel like I failed in this respect. I didn't get this done, or I didn't accomplish this thing I wanted to accomplish. Or maybe you're frustrated with anything. It's fine. This is totally healthy. This is natural and normal. No one, there's often, I've noticed being a student of psychology and social services, there's this movement to like go away from feeling bad things. Has anyone ever heard good vibes only? It's like good vibes only would be perfect in the perfect world, but the reality of the situation is it's not good vibes only. Have you ever been with someone and like something really bad happens and they're just trying to be positive?
Yeah.
So it's like you get in a car crash and the car light's on fire and your friend's in the car and you're like, we gotta get out of here! This is crazy! We're gonna burn it! Well, maybe the wind, it's windy. Maybe the wind will get rid of it. Or I see some rain clouds. I don't, And it's like sometimes you need to address and to understand that negativity, the feelings, the things of that nature have its place. And what's really important is just understanding that things have its place, it just depends on where you put them. So if we're sitting at dinner, if all of us are having a dinner together and everyone's talking about a great thing, and I'll be like, say the most depressing thing ever, it's probably not the most appropriate place to bring that, right? Because now I'm entertaining that. Everyone's talking about something else and I'm like, negative thing. So timing and things of that nature matter. We don't want to entertain the feelings of regret, failure, frustration. These are things that are natural, but we don't want to beat ourselves up. It's very important. Because it does, as we've established earlier, it takes a toll on us, physically and mentally. Consciously thinking of things you only desire to realize. This is a great practice for your affirmations, for meditation, for your morning. It doesn't have to be like a YouTube video where you want to have a Rolls Royce and a mansion. It can be like, I want to smile today. I want to have a beautiful day. I want to get along with people and I want to treat people with respect regardless of their behavior and where they're at in life. I want to be, in my case, I'd say, I want to be a gentleman not because other people are gentlemen, but because I'm one. Because that's how I want to live. I want to be positive and happy. So there's these little mantras that you can say to yourself. Think of the things you desire to realize. What do you want today? Because all of today is made the future. All of your past was a today. And so what we think today goes out into the universe of our future. So imagining and expecting the best, right? We want to imagine, expect the best. It doesn't mean we're walking around telling everyone, everything's great, nothing bad's going to happen ever. But remember, when I'm talking about all these things, I'm also really focusing on how you're talking to yourself on the inside. So on the inside, imagining and expecting the best. Thinking like, hey, I'm going to go to this presentation today, I'm going to have a great time. After this presentation, I'm going to have a great day. In the process of the day, something negative might happen and you have to deal with it. But at least you put in the effort to bring out the energy of expecting the best. In the ideal world, we have the best family, we have the best partner, we have the best friends, we have the best community. That's ideal, that would be awesome, where we could lean on everybody when we need it. That would be great. But because this is a presentation that I'm talking specifically to you, I wanted to talk about self-regulation. Because if we have to have things around us working great to regulate, we're more fragile. We're more in a position to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of problems. So I'm not here to tell you, don't ever rely on anybody, don't ever lean on anybody, don't trust people. No, it's not that. It's not that. What I'm saying is, it starts with us inside. It starts with our ability to self-regulate. So self-regulation is the ability to manage one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. It offers numerous benefits across various aspects of life, including emotional well-being, decision-making, and enhanced social interaction. Self-regulation helps individuals to make more intentional choices, achieve their goals, and navigate challenges with greater resilience. Has anyone ever been in a situation where you're around someone and it seems like they're stuck, they really can't do anything unless someone gives them advice or tells them what to do or tells them how to feel about something? We've all been there. And a lot of us, we vacillate. We have our moments where we're the leaders and sometimes we're very vulnerable and we need that support, we want that support. But if you notice, I put intentional choices in navigating challenges. These are pieces of the puzzles. It doesn't mean you're doing everything by yourself, but making the intentional choices of your life, navigating the challenges of our lives from a perspective of self-regulation, which I'm going to show you how we do that here in a moment. How to self-regulate better. Be patient and persistent with your work in self-regulation. So we want to understand the basics. Managing our emotions and responding to situations appropriately. I don't have any children, but I have nephews. And I remember this story this time when they were visiting me when I lived in Santa Barbara, and they spilled Pepsi on my carpet. And they were arguing about who was going to clean up the Pepsi. And they're like, no, you clean up the Pepsi, you spilled it, no, you knocked it over. And I came out of the bathroom and I was like, guys, it doesn't matter who spilled it, there's Pepsi on the carpet, right? Let's get this thing clean. It doesn't matter who cleans it, it just needs to be clean. Well, if I had walked out of the bathroom and said, you guys are just, stop arguing, and you guys are not disappointing me, and stop acting like this way, and da-da-da-da-da-da, my emotions are not being managed properly. I'm feeling all this anger, I'm expressing this anger, and rather than now I'm part of the problem because I'm not even dealing with the Coke on the floor, right? I'm dealing with just yelling at my nephews. We want to manage our emotions and respond to situations properly. Problem solve. I just used the example with my nephews, right? I came out and it's a problem solving thing. Oh, there's Pepsi on the floor? Let's clean up the Pepsi. That's a novel idea. You know, how are we going to do it? I got rags. I get some water. Hey, you guys don't know, maybe you're intimidated. I'll show you how to clean up the Pepsi on the floor. So that next time you spill stuff on the floor, you'll know how to clean it up and that you need to clean it up fast. I like the example of I've used this example before of flat tires. Has anyone in here ever had a flat tire? Right. So what do we usually do when we have a flat tire?
Call AAA.
Call AAA. Perfect. Great service, by the way.
Yeah.
Sponsor of this presentation. Right, so we fix it, right? We don't get out of the car and start stabbing the other tires. Right? Have you ever seen someone be like, I have a flat tire, this is so disappointing. And then they go and they start beating up their car and stabbing the other tires, right? But do we see people do that with their disappointing moments? Have we ever seen people use their anger, their frustrations, their resentment to, instead of problem solve, create a bigger problem?
Yeah.
These are things that we have to have these conversations in life, right? With our loved ones, with ourselves, is that we want to solve problems. We want to be problem solvers. It doesn't mean that the problem gets solved, but we want to have the attitude of looking at things as something that can be solved, something that we can resolve, even if resolving something means that we're not taking part in it. It might be ending a relationship. It might be moving on from something. But we want to solve the problem. We don't want to make the problem bigger. I worked with a family in Santa Barbara that's very public. Their daughter was murdered. She was a student at UCSB. She broke up with her boyfriend. He called her up and said, hey, come over. I want to have our last chat, da-da-da-da-da. He stabbed her to death, okay? Awful, awful situation. I met with the family. We did vigils. We did a lot of work. They took this horrible problem, this horrible situation of their daughter being murdered, and they decided, you know what? We're going to invest in the community. We're going to invest in this nonprofit, Domestic Violence Solutions. We're going to create events about awareness and help young people understand relationship dynamics. I was brought in to teach relationship education to lots of young men. I mean, there were men that were like 14 years old that were dads. And because of this family's donations to our organization, they were able to take a horrible situation and problem solve, as opposed to saying, someone murdered my child, I hate everybody. This isn't right, how could this happen to me? I'm gonna make sure that people pay the price forever, every mistake they make, da-da-da-da-da, which, hey, you know, it's understandable why people would feel that way, right? We can definitely understand it. But it's just to say, they took a problem-solving approach. Yeah. Controlling our actions and our impulses, doing a self-assessment, looking at yourself objectively, and just saying like, hey, I see people around me this way. How would I look at myself? How would I look at my behavior? If I judge so-and-so for this, don't I kind of do that? Or if I think so-and-so is great for this, don't I kind of do that too? I should think really highly of myself too. And so we want to be able to do these things because this is, and if you notice, just in this one space, we've been able to have this nice conversation of things we can do to better ourselves. There's a lot here that we can do. So the number 2 is develop self-awareness. You want to identify triggers that disrupt you. What are the things that take you out of ease? What are the things that bring you into dis-ease? You ever notice how that sounds like disease? I used to work with the Native American folks up in Humboldt County. And I went to a lot of trainings. Perspective was beautiful. Dis-ease as opposed to ease. That's how they saw people when they were dealing with mental health is, oh, you're out of ease, you're out of equilibrium. You're not in line with your true nature. So identifying those triggers that disrupt you. It could even be something as simple as food. There's a great book called Gut and Psychological Syndrome. I used to do behavioral analysis and I worked with people on the autistic spectrum. And a lot of these parents understood that like food could trigger behavior in their children. Oh, I don't have any energy, I don't feel good, I'm depressed. It might literally be something that you're eating. It might not be all of it is life. Recognize your emotions accurately. Understand your deeper feelings. When I used to teach relationship education, we would talk about feelings, but then we would talk about hidden feelings. So someone would be mad because you did the laundry a certain type of way. You put the detergent in the laundry wrong. And it's like, why are you always mad because I put the detergent in the laundry? Why do you get so upset? Why do we have this fight every Saturday? I'm trying to do the laundry, honey, or whatever. And it's like, it's not about the detergent. It's because I've asked you to do it this way, and you're not doing that. I've asked you because I'm worried that the laundry is going to break or that it's going to mess up the clothes or this. So really the issue isn't even the detergent. It's about respect. It's about feeling valued. It's about feeling heard, right? So do this with yourself is looking at your emotions. Like you might be angry. You might be sad, or you might even be happy, but dig deeper and find out why. Because this is how we can beat those cycle of emotions from coming up. Have we ever seen maybe someone we know, or even within ourselves, like, it's like, man, every time I just keep having the same emotions. It's like Groundhog's Day. But if we dig deeper, we can find out, and then we can problem solve. Understand how your actions impact yourself and others. Have you guys ever heard of emotional intelligence? And I think this is a big part of emotional intelligence, is understanding how your actions impact yourself and others. Because they do, for positive and for negative. And other people affect themselves and you or their community as well. So taking a look at yourself and saying, what are the things that I get complimented on the most, man? Like, these are the things I'm really great at, or these are the things that I really appreciate about myself, or this is how I feel. I compliment myself. I feel these are great. Or, man, I notice when I'm around people and I act this way, like, people like leave the room. People don't text me or call me or whatever when I talk about these things. And understanding that, hey, maybe there's some sort of theme going on, right? Or a theme going on with someone else. This can also help us with difficult conversations with others. Sometimes people can't see outside of themselves, and we say, well, I appreciate that you're going through something. I just want to add, do you understand that when you feel this way, how I feel? Let me tell you, I feel like when you feel this way, it causes a lot of stress in me. I feel a lot of stress. It could potentially open up a conversation to be more connected. Practice these techniques. Slow, deep breaths to calm the nervous system. Have you ever seen a situation where someone's arguing with someone or what have you, like the Jerry Springer show or whatever? Most of those people aren't talking slow. Most of those people aren't saying like, well, Donna, I cheated on you with the, and they're like talking really fast, back and forth. They're going at it, and that's how people start calling each other names, and they start doing all the things that are very disruptive to relationships. But if you're breathing slowly, if you're in a relaxed state, you're more likely to speak more calmly. So I always suggest that taking nice, deep breaths before you're dealing with a stressful situation or having a stressful conversation. In fact, when I used to teach the relationship classes, we used to say timeouts. Very appropriate. You guys ever heard of situations where a parent's going to discipline their child, but then they say, okay, well, let dad or mom think about it, and we'll talk in a few hours. It's very appropriate, because you need to calm down. You don't want to be emotional when you're, whatever discipline a person's doing, grounding someone or what have you. We've seen lots of situations in social services where people lose it. It's awful. So mindfulness, deep breaths, is very important. So you want to stay in the present moment. Often when we're going through stress, we start thinking of what this means. What is this going to do to me? Maybe you're in a relationship and the relationship's going in a bad direction, and you say, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen? We live together, we have bills, you start thinking ahead, right? Oh, if this doesn't happen, all these things are going to happen, right? You want to live in the present moment. You want to be mindful. You're in the now. And the now is a space of creation. This is where we create our future relationships, our future beautiful connections, and our future trauma is in the now. And so if you're mindful in the moment, something that could be a traumatic experience, maybe you're arguing with a parent, a child, a friend or something, if you're mindful, you might say, hey, I'm recognizing I'm getting really angry right now, and I value our relationship in the long term. And I don't want to say things that are emotional. I want to be mindful. So I think, I'm going to go get some coffee, take a break, and we'll talk tonight, or we'll talk tomorrow morning, or I'll text you when I'm feeling better. Those are all very healthy things. Cognitive reappraisal, reframing negative thoughts to a more positive and realistic one. It's very natural. We've established that it's inevitable that we're going to be thinking negatively about ourselves, right? But are there things in life that maybe it's true? Maybe there are some negative things that we're feeling, but if we really put in the thought, can we create a more positive outlook on those negative things?
Sometimes we carry so much that we don't even need to be carrying.
It's 100% true. It becomes a burden. What can you take from the situation? In the beginning, also is contextual of our age. When we're younger, sometimes we feel like we have all the time in the world, and we say to ourselves, oh yeah, like, this is awful, this is horrible, I'm going to hang on to this for 10 years, I'm going to hang on to this for 15 years. That was a waste of time. That was a heavy burden that was carried for many years. And we don't want that for ourselves, and we don't want that for others. Establish a health routine and set goals. Exercise, nutrition, things of that nature. I think it's very important to practice those things. Sometimes in life we think we're sick in our mind. We're having anxiety, we're having depression, we're having all these things. We're frustrated all the time, we're irritable. But it can be as simple as a health issue. It can be as simple as a body regulation. There's a lot of people that are shamed because of things they're going through, and what they're really dealing with is literally a health issue, whether it be mental health or physical health. I talked about in our last presentation sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is one of those things where it just sucks the life out of you. And people might say, oh, that this person is this person is that, when they don't even know that their battery is always on low. The last thing is about building healthy habits. Hey, get good sleep, exercise regularly, eat a positive diet, and positive self-talk. In terms of eating a healthy diet, we have in our microbiome, the scientists have a term called the second brain. So your gut literally affects how you think.
Yeah.
So if you're addicted to foods, if you're eating a lot of gluten, if you're eating a lot of sugar, a lot of caffeine, a lot of processed foods, it can affect your mood, because those bad bacteria in the microbiome are like, feed us more Doritos, come on, and it's like, it will bring you down, we'll get you irritable, we'll do that. And so really focusing on a healthy diet. I got a great book for you guys that I mentioned last time. It's The Microbiome Solution. It's a great book for women. It's a great book on your gut health. And I think it's just a fantastic read. And then, again, positive self-talk. How you talk to yourself affects your reality, the things you say to yourself. So if you say to yourself, oh, I'm not doing good, you're basically like putting a magic wand and saying,
manifesting, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not good, right?
Yeah.
It's like a magic wand. Oh, I don't feel good. Psh. I'm not a good-looking person. Psh. I'm not in shape. Psh. I don't have enough money. Psh. And you're feeding all of these things into your computer. Our brains are so powerful. And I'm going to talk about our subconscious later and how powerful that is. So imagine if you're saying all the good things.
Yeah.
Something as simple as saying, like, I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
And no matter how it looks, I know I'm happy. I have it in me to be joyful. I have it in me to be positive with people and feel good about myself, etc., etc., etc. It's a great thing to do. So self-regulation is important because limiting factors exist. Finances. Not everyone has enough money to do all the self-care in the world that they need. Transportation. Some people can't get to certain places, like to go see a therapist. Privacy and confidentiality. It's a limiting factor because some of us are afraid to share. Some of us have really deep, valid pain, but we're afraid of telling people. We're afraid of telling family members or friends. Our health is a limiting factor. Our health can affect our abilities to go out and get things done for ourselves. Unhealthy people is a limiting factor. We want to get at self-regulation because, we want to trust people and have our tribe and have everyone we can confide in. But I've experienced, as a professional, you see emotional abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, really bad advice, a lack of empathy. Sometimes we go to someone with a problem and they're not empathetic. They don't understand because they haven't experienced that. They might also have a lack of sympathy for us. They might use that information we gave them against us. Codependency, all of a sudden, like, I can't think of how to fix a problem unless I run it by someone or unless someone else tells me how it should be or what have you. And then overall access to resources outside of ourselves. So this is why I talk so much about self-regulation, not as I said earlier, because you should only do it yourself. That's not what I wanted to say. But because we want to strengthen that. We want to be resilient. We want to have, to the best of our ability to problem solve within ourselves. And then throughout life as we age, we build a tribe. We have our family, we have our friends, we have our coworkers that we can trust, we have our therapists, we have all of this support. I certainly hope for all of you that you have that. Understanding the power of your subconscious, okay? So your subconsciousness refers to a part of the mind that operates below conscious awareness, but still influences thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Has anyone here had dreams? We have dreams, right? Wild dreams, funny dremes, the ones where I lose my teeth, the ones where I'm flying, right? Everyone, we go to Google or we talk to AI. In the old days, you had books of to interpret your dreams, right? Well, that's your subconsciousness working. Your heart's beating all night long. Your brain is stimulated all night long. You're in a state of recharge, but you're also in a state of creation. You're literally in a state of creation while you're asleep. And so why is this important? Because everything you're thinking during the day is getting worked on at night in your subconsciousness. And I'm here to tell you that your subconsciousness is not interested in the truth or falsity of your feelings. It accepts what you feel is true. It does not alter your feelings. It is faithful to your beliefs. Your subconscious is committed to you. So what you think is so important. Because if you think that you're not worth it, that you're not good enough, that you're not great, your subconscious says, all right, we got all this stuff. Okay, we're going to process this all night. These are the impressions you've impressed upon your subconscious, these ideas, and your subconscious is going to work on that all night so it can express itself in your life. So when you wake up in the morning, you're probably more than likely at some point going to feel the things that you've been telling your subconscious all day, the day before. So imagine if during the day you tell yourself, I'm a hard worker, I try my best, I'm someone who really cares, I'm a good person, I love myself, I love the people around me, I'm grateful for the things I have. Yes, I deal with challenges, but I'm going to overcome them. I am overcoming them. Your subconscious takes that and says, okay, yep, D said he's overcoming his challenges, he's a great person, that's the impression I got from D, that's going to express itself in D's life tomorrow. The subconscious receives the impressions through your feelings and gives these impressions the form through expression, actions. So your impression is the thought you have about someone else or yourself or life or what have you. And the expression is the next day when you wake up, you start living in line with those impressions, those thoughts. I'll give you a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain once said, habit is habit, and it's not to be flung out the window, but rather coaxed down the stairs one step at a time. So your habits are something that you have to really work on because they are a part of you. The things, and it's not just the things we do, it's the things we think. Subconscious is a womb of creation. If you dwell on difficulties, barriers, etc., the subconsciousness is more apt to produce them. We don't talk a lot about sleep in this country. We don't talk a lot about certain types of things. How many people have heard of Ozempic?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that's the new popular thing. So we hear of like a drug and it's like, oh, you want to lose weight? You take Ozempic. You want to do this? You do this. That's fine. It works, thank goodness. In the field of mental health, in the field of medical, we rarely have these conversations. Doctors have to see 4 patients, 5 patients in an hour. When they're in there, they don't have time to give you an hour presentation. And most of them, you're not able to monetize off this. That's just the cruel reality. But imagine if these things were taught in school. Imagine if you were in elementary school, middle school, and someone was just telling you the things you think, the way you think about yourself, the way you think about life, that can affect your attitude. There's a great book, if you want another book, Think and Grow Rich. It's a wonderful book about attitude and how it can affect your life, how it can affect your abilities in the workplace or business and things of that nature. And so, understanding that your subconscious is a great creator, your sleep is not just for you to rest, it's a place of creation. And what you say to yourself right before you go to bed, I highly suggest every night before you go to bed, giving yourself the gift of having a beautiful conversation with yourself. Saying really nice things to yourself, being gentle. You know how parents take the kids to bed and they read them a good night story and they kiss them goodnight. They say nice things. Maybe the kid's a little nervous. They pat him on the head. They say things are going to be great. You're going to have a great day. Oh, tomorrow's your first day of school. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to make new friends. But how often do we hear of adults doing that to ourselves? We tell the kids through our actions to them, this is great, this is healthy. A lot of people want to have kids so they can give them sometimes the things they felt they didn't get. But we don't do that for ourselves. And as we established earlier, what we do for ourselves has an effect outside of ourselves. It benefits our children, it benefits our partners, it benefits our friends, it benefits the community at large. Because if we feel good about ourselves, if we take care of ourselves, if we love ourselves, it's going to affect them in a positive way. We are here to learn, not to be judged. This, to me, is what life is all about. Life is all about learning, not judging, not failure, not what you didn't accomplish, what you didn't do. Because you don't have to ever give up. I used to study the stock market with a really good friend of mine. He was in his early 80s. And he said, you only lose money in the stock market when you sell the stock. He said, you might buy a stock and it goes down. But he said, you only really lose the money when you sell it. And you only really start learning when you give up. When you give up on yourself. So never give up on yourself. And understand that you're here as a learner, a lifelong learner. You're not here to be judged by everyone. You're not here to judge people. Why? Because heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is a quote that's been said for the monarchy. When you have the crown, it's heavy, it's made out of gold, right? But I would use it in this example as being judgmental. If we're judgmental on ourselves, if we're judgmental on others, if we're judgmental on the world, it's time that we're taking away from good things and we're putting heaviness on ourselves. So how is it easy to perform when you have that? Scoreboarding. Comparing negativity, competitiveness, and morality. When I used to teach relationship classes, I always said this was really important to understand about judging. It's very natural for us to compare. Remember I said earlier, our thoughts are inevitable. We're going to inevitably have certain thoughts. But I want us to understand that just because our thoughts are inevitable, we don't want to buy into them. So realizing that, like, if someone is down in life, or maybe we feel like we're doing more and we're like, oh, I'm doing more than you, I'm doing this, you're doing less, da-da-da-da-da. That's ultimately not healthy for our lives. And understanding that there's strength in numbers. A lot of our friendships, a lot of our coworkers, our family, like there's a lot of strength in having those relationships. Of course, there are times in life where we disconnect from people, but by self-regulating, by understanding our emotions and our subconscious, the power of our thoughts and feelings, we can have a bigger tribe, we can have a healthier work environment, we can have all of those wonderful people that are around us. Sometimes you see in life people go through so much stuff that they become so isolated. When I see someone, it's like that story of the lion with the thorn in their finger. It's like they're hurt. That's why they're acting that way. They've isolated themselves. Have you ever heard that saying, hurt people hurt people? But we want to be healthy because it helps us have a better social network and more. There's more strength in those connections. And then again, your body is an emotional filter. Emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, can cause dis-ease. So some positive affirmations. I am capable, smart, and good enough. I am loved and respected. I am strong, resilient, and capable of handling challenges. I make valuable contributions to the world. I am proud of myself and will continue to do well. I trust my abilities and have faith in my decisions. I'll say really quickly, a quick story is, sometimes in life people are really down. They go through seasons that are really troubling and hard. And I'm no different than any other human being in here. I've had amazing moments in my life and I've had down moments. But I remember a few years ago I was thinking about some of the things that I did in my life. And I was writing some poetry and I said, wow, all those seeds that I've planted have become this big, powerful forest. All these people that when I was young, when I could have been just focused on myself, I was uplifting them, loving on them, caring about them. I helped those people, they become better. I've become better for our relationship. And so the way you look at your life, the way you define your life, your body, your mind, the people around you, they're going to accept that as truth. So you want to define your life positively, and this is a great way to do that. Say positive things about yourself, positive affirmations. Why affirmations? Because how you see yourself is the seed you plant. Literally. And remember also how you see others. I'll tell you real quick a story about Ben. This just came to my head right now. Ben. I love Ben. I was 20 years old, 19 years old, and I met Ben for the first time. He was the father of one of my friends. And I said, "Hey, Ben, it's nice to meet you." And he looked me in the eyes, and he didn't shake my hand. My initial feelings were like frustration and anger, and I felt embarrassed that he wouldn't shake my hand. This is someone who was probably at the time like 45, 50 years my senior. But I told myself after that happened, I said, I'm going to be me around Ben. I'm not going to change. I actually knew a guy that knew Ben. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna get ready. He's a jerk." And he would ignore Ben. This guy, Ben, would come over, he'd ignore him. And I said, I'm not going to ignore Ben. I'm not going to shake his hand because he didn't shake mine, but I'm going to, "Hi, Ben, how are you? Good to see you." But, on and on and on. Just treat him with dignity and respect. And within 2 years, his wife was stunned because Ben was known as what people call a curmudgeon, someone who doesn't like having people around, someone who's very negative. He invited me over to his house for dinner. And his wife, Edith, grabbed me and she goes, "We never have anyone over for dinner." And when I left it, I don't get emotional about it, but when I left his house, he gave me a hug.
Oh.
He gave me a hug. And, God rest his soul, he's gone now, but how you see yourself is the seed you plant. I would have never had that beautiful experience if I had just became resentful and said, "I hate this guy. This guy embarrassed me." And so there's obviously a balance, right? We can't just try with everybody forever. But there are stories in life that are beautiful of how we see ourselves or how we see others or how we see situations. We can turn negative into positive. And in that way, you are a creator. You are a part of this creation. Through your subconsciousness, through your faith, through your actions, through your beliefs, whatever it is that you invest the most into, you are a creator of your life and your life's journey. Before we go, I just wanted to say that I encourage you to remember your impermanence. Impermanence being that we're not going to be here forever. I like that. It would be great to be able to just, then I'd be like, "Oh, I got so much time, like I can do all these things." But we are impermanent. One of the blessings of getting older is you see the young people coming up and you start to admire them, look up to the young people, but then you start losing all these pillars. Grandparents, your parents get older, so on and so forth. And so it's that gentle reminder that we're on this track towards the end. And so the way we think about ourselves, the way we behave, our relationships, etc., just understand that we're impermanent and when we're making decisions, when we're thinking about how we're going to handle our feelings about ourselves or others. What kind of life do you want to live as you grow on this journey? Realize that a change in feeling is a change in your destiny. That's straight out of a movie, guy. like a change in feeling is a change in my destiny. You are literally changing the track of your life by how you feel. And that's so important. And that has so much value, and we should give so much reverence to that. Our feelings. They're powerful. They change our destiny. And they change the destiny of our family. They can change the destiny of our career. They can change the destiny of our relationships, etc. And lastly, understand that the now is the only place where you can change how you see the past and actively create the future. It's about here and now. There's been a ton of studies done on behavior and procrastination, and they always say, if you give yourself 3 months to do something, it's probably going to take you 3 months to do it, right? If you give yourself a week to do something, you probably get it done in a week. And if you tell yourself, today I'm going to do that, hell or high water, I'm getting that done today, you might get it done today. So remember that the now is really the dominion, the location of your creation. It's not the future. The future just doesn't show up. It's all built off of the now. So, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you guys. If anyone that has any questions or wants to stick around, you're welcome to. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and best wishes always.